Wayward Courier, Chapter 3. They had been walking through the Everfree for close to 5 minutes, and already Twilight was feeling very edgy. The human, completely suited up and with all his strange equipment, looked as though he had stepped straight out of a nightmare. The way the face of the helmet in no way resembled what laid underneath, the small number of tubes that served unknown purposes, the glowing red eyes, all in all, she was absolutely sure at this point that bringing him to Ponyville was going to be a huge mistake. At least he seemed peaceful enough. The way he was looking around at everything, seemingly enthralled with, well, everything, was evident to her that this fellow, strange and possibly hostile as may be, at least had a respect for nature. Maybe he wasn't so bad. Before, when I just wanted to get the hell to anything resembling civilization, I didn't really care about looking around. After all, I did think I was just somewhere in America. Now I knew that I was most likely on a completely different planet. It was really strange seeing plants that looked so similar to things I've seen before. True, I wasn't exactly able to get a good look, what with it being rather dark in the forest, so I had to turn on the low light vision. So everything was a strange shade of gray. Oh well, at least I wasn't going to trip over my own boots. The last thing I needed to do was make a complete ass of myself in front of a local. So, nothing happened for the entire 20-minute walk. No, I'm not joking. Just a completely peaceful, uneventful walk through a dank forest. It was actually rather nice, being able to get somewhere without worrying about some drugged up fuck trying to rob you with a pool cue. So you can imagine my surprise when, after a while in the dark forest, we were practically assaulted by sunlight. This sunlight wasn't like the Mojave is, oppressive, harsh, and merciless, or the ones in the vaults that are still working properly, all mechanical, processing, and sterilized. The sunlight there felt nice, calm, gentle, soothing. All those things you just can't get unless you're sitting on a fortune. I was still breathing filtered air at that point, so I took my helmet off, more to get rid of the low light vision. The air smelled so fucking clean. No matter where you go here, there's this lingering scent of decay, of 2-century-old dust and rust. There was none of that. Just. I'm sorry, I need a moment. Twilight couldn't help but giggle at the way the human just stood there, seemingly overwhelmed. It was very strange, but also made her feel much less threatened. The happy, dazed smile was just too funny to look at. The fact that he was acting as though he had never been around fresh air or sunlight before was still worrying, though. She made a mental note to ask him about that later, after she had found a way around the language barrier. She made a few steps towards Ponyville, stopping when she realized that the stranger was still standing there. She turned back and prodded him with a hoof, getting no reaction. After a moment of pondering, she decided that it wouldn't be too much of a strain and enveloped him in her telekinesis. Before he even got off the ground, the magic detector on his arm burst into life, ticking like a deranged clock. This seemed to shake him out of his reverie, kicking and screaming in the process. Stop, 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 stop! I panicked. I admit that. You of all people know how horrible radiation is. The last thing anyone wants is to get bathed in radioactive goop. And at the time, I was sure I was about to sprout a third arm from my stomach or something. You can stop laughing, it wasn't that funny. Luckily for me, kicking and screaming is pretty universal. The purple glowing stopped and my Pip-Boy stopped ticking. More out of habit than anything, I pulled up my radiation screen to see just how fucked I was. As it turns out, not that bad. Okay, yes, no amount of radiation is good, but I was only at about 150, if that. Easy enough for a Radway or two to deal with. Still, I wasn't letting her anywhere near me with that horn glowing. Twilight didn't know why he panicked so much at the magic. She hadn't meant to harm him, but does he know that? She wondered. She knew she had to consider the possibility that, to him, she was a threat or something. In a way, the idea was flattering, being considered so dangerous to a being who could easily dispatch a pair of manticores. Twilight, get down! She turned around just in time to see an orange-coated blonde mare charging at her. The unicorn let out a yelp and dove to the side, giving the pony a clear shot at her traveling companion. Applejack, no! Twilight watched in shock as her friend ran up to the human, pivoted on her forehooves, and bucked hard. The yells brought me back to reality. You ever been kicked by a Brahmin? It fucking hurts. The orange one that kicked me was easily twice as strong. If I had been kicked in the ribs, I'd be okay with that. After all, I've taken a super sledger or three to the ribs and survived. But no, I just couldn't be that lucky. Despite having won enough at all the casinos to get kicked out, no, instead I end up taking a pair of hooves to the balls. Yeah, pretty sure I collapsed from the pain at that point. Not like you can blame me. I also blacked out. Applejack, what did you do? What do you mean? The farmer asked, her back to the now unconscious biped. You hurt him! Twilight replied furiously, her mane and tail on the verge of combustion. Of course I hurt him. Applejack stared between her friend and the thing she had just assaulted in mid-confusion. That monster from Everfree was following you. That monster saved Rainbow Dash's life yesterday, and you just went and bucked him. He did? Applejack seemed somewhere between disbelief and horror. Oh no, mister, are you okay? She asked as she tried, futilely, to wake him up. I don't think he's gonna wake up, Twilight said, unhappily. And even if he did, he can only speak Zebrakin. Wait, he? Abject asked, properly registering the use of the male pronoun. The farmer was no biology expert, but she knew enough to have an idea of what she had just done. So, It took Twilight a moment to board her friend's train of thought, but when she did, her jaw dropped when she saw where it was headed. Oh no, oh no! She began to hop from hoof to hoof on the verge of what was possibly the worst panic attack she had ever had. Quite a feat for a pony that had managed to brainwash an entire town by accidentally during one of her more recent ones. Oh no, 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 no! Lying on the ground before her was an alien visitor that had selflessly risked his own life to save a pony it didn't know, an alien visitor that had killed a pair of manticores with ease, only going down after getting stung, an alien visitor that was easily the deadliest horn seen in Equestria since the time of Nightmare Moon, and one of her friends had just bucked him in the genitals. What a brilliant first impression this was turning out to be. Applejack recognized the symptoms her unicorn friend was displaying. Calm down, Sugar Cute. Nothing we can do now. Just hope he ain't too angry about what I did, she finished nervously. Let's hope he isn't the sort to hold a grudge, Twilight responded. All right, how about you carry him to the library? What? Why me? Applejack asked, not fond the idea of sort of manual labor. He doesn't seem to react well to my magic. Maybe it's harmful to him, and besides, Decorum pointed out, it's your fault that we have to carry him in the first place. The farmer let out a sigh. I guess you're right. With Twilight's help, she managed to get the human onto her back. He's kinda heavy, she said. And what's with all that stuff he's wearing? Some of that's his clothes, the unicorn responded, balancing the helmet on her tip of her horn. Applejack chuckled as she began walking around in ponytail. I can imagine Rarity having a fit when she sees all this. The pair shared a laugh. What's the rest of this stuff, then? Twilight's good mood seemed to evaporate. I think they're his weapons. Though how they're weapons, I don't know. Twi, think about what we just said. Applejack had stopped walking and gave her friend a very worried look. Weapons, Twi? You're letting him bring weapons into Ponyville? Just how do you think every pony's going to react to that? And that's the thing, Applejack. They don't look like weapons. As long as no pony else finds out, it shouldn't be a problem. Twilight was confident that there was no way any pony would suspect the actual purpose of the strange metal objects, or that any pony would even know how to operate one in the unlikely event that they realized just what they were. The only likely danger in that respect came from Spike or Pinkie Pie. After taking half a second to think that very part there, she realized just how bad an idea the whole thing was. And I'll make sure they're hidden, she quickly added. I respect your judgment on this one, Twi, but don't come crying me when everything goes south. Author's note. Well, that's one way to ruin the day. Nice going, AJ. I have a way around the language barrier. Don't you worry now. Any guesses about who he's recounting the story to, by the way? There are a few subtle hints here and there.